if I could, but I've got to stick to my budget. John and Corey, how can I afford the diamond she really wants?
You know, I think you'll be genuinely surprised by how much diamond you can afford at Juniker Jewelry Company.
Because here you will find 10 times the diamonds and engagement rings of average jewelry stores.
And the true diamond experts to help you put it all together.
The diamond engagement ring of her dreams is right here, right now at Juniker Jewelry Company.
And with multiple financing options and good credit, it can be remarkably affordable.
We even have diamond engagement rings complete with your choice of center diamonds, starting at under $2,000. So, what are you waiting for?
Go ahead. Give her the moon.
We make it easy at Juniker Jewelry Company, Mississippi's direct diamond importer.
Juniker Jewelry Company, Mississippi's direct diamond importer. From anywhere in Mississippi, we're at 1485 Highland Colony Parkway, just south of 463 in Madison, and online at junikerjewelry.com. Juniker Jewelry, because love can't wait.
The views and opinions expressed in this program
If it feels like the world's gone a little crazy lately, you're not wrong. They say parents should have a voice. But what happens when no one's listening? Forget the noise, the narratives, and the nonsense. It's time to have real conversations, stand up, speak out, and shine a light on what's really happening inside our schools, our systems, and our government, and what it really means for your family. This is the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we believe in truth over talking points, facts over feelings, and the courage to say what others won't. When it comes to our kids, silence is not an option. Only in America, dreaming.
Happy Thursday. Welcome in to the Lindsey Beckham Show. We are live here in the WYAB studios. We're also streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Now, I know everybody is fired up about this, the Nolan Wells situation down on the Gulf Coast, Ocean Springs, the independent autopsy that was released yesterday, the race baiters that are Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, and we're going to get back to that. But today we have a very special guest with us, my friend Corey DeAngelis. Corey, thank you so much for being here. And I also just want to say thank you so much for what you do on a daily basis, really out there uncovering what's happening and exposing it. Because when I read some of the stuff that we're going to get into today, even my jaw hit the floor. And I can't say that too often anymore. I've seen so many things happening within the walls of our public school system here in our country. But one lie, I want to start with this, because one lie that we have been told here in Mississippi, and that I've been told that I believe, how stupid of me. I should know better by now. But that is that we're not a part of a teachers union here in Mississippi. And you debunked that real quick, like this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lindsey. I debunked it pretty quickly because I live in Texas and we had the same problem here where when we were fighting for school choice and calling out the teachers union's agenda, you had defenders of the status quo saying, oh, no, that's only in blue states. We don't have teachers unions here in Texas. But if you go straight to the Texas American Federation of Teachers website, they call themselves a union. And if you look it up on AI, it'll tell you Texas actually does have teachers unions. And look, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and even calls itself a duck, you know, it's probably a duck. And the same thing is true in Mississippi. You have the Mississippi Association of Educators, which is the only state affiliate of the National Education Association. That is the largest teachers union in the country. If you've heard of Becky Pringle, she's the lady who's an unhinged lunatic, screams on stage nonstop, and wants to force DEI into the classroom. They just had their annual convention in Denver over the past week, and they had all these crazy resolutions. One of them that they considered was seeking to remove President Trump from office and to have a national march on Washington, D.C. to do so. It sounded like an insurrection to me. It called to use $5.2 million in teachers' paychecks towards this. And so whether you like it or not, whether your people on the ground in your schools, for the most part, behave well or not, in Mississippi, that union funnels up those dues to the NEA, the National Education Association, which pushes far left politics. If you look at just follow the money, 99% of their campaign contributions every election cycle go straight to Democrat campaign coffers, and less than 10% of their total revenues each year from the NEA go towards representing teachers. It's mostly for political activity. So if you're a conservative, you've basically been duped in Mississippi into believing that there's nothing to see here, that it's only happening in California and New York. That's not true.
No, exactly. And not only that, but they have lobbyists who are always lobbying at the Capitol, lobbying our legislators to get their agendas through right here in Mississippi at the state level. So don't let them fool you and think that, oh, that can't be happening here in Mississippi.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it serves as nothing more than a one-sided political money laundering operation for the Democrats. Becky Pringle, the head of the NEA, is currently an at-large member of the Democrat National Committee. I mean, I used to say that it's that the union is an arm of the Democrat Party, but it's even worse. They're sitting at the same table, having those conversations, making decisions together. It's not just that their political power and money influences the politicians. They're sitting side by side with them. And Randi Weingarten, the head of the American Federation of Teachers, everybody's heard about. Well, she's being investigated by Congress right now for apparently using $1.4 million in her union's dues from teachers' paychecks to promote her book, which she just copied my book cover, by the way.
It's
Here's
exactly
her book.
like yours.
Came out a
Exactly
year
like
after mine. It looks exactly the same. She's basically calling parents fascist. She went around the country calling conservatives fascist. On page 1, she invokes Hitler. And so she's basically trying to compare the Trump administration to the Nazi regime. It's totally insane, unhinged. It's just totally bonkers. And now she's being investigated by Congress for it, thankfully. You'd think using $1.4 million, though, she'd be a little bit more creative than just copying my book cover. But
Right.
she just had her annual convention over the past few days in Washington,
Yes.
D.C.
Yes.
And
you
it
sat
was
down with-
just as crazy as the NEA's, if not
Oh,
worse.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And we love PragerU. I mean, Moms for Liberty, we're huge fans of PragerU. We love what they do. And I saw you sit down with Marissa Straight from PragerU, and
Yep.
talk about this convention and talk about what they are pushing, what the teachers union and Randi Weingarten are pushing. Y'all.
It's freaking nuts. It's so
Abolish
nuts.
ICE.
Even if you didn't like the union before, I tried to, okay, so Marissa and I, we had a big packet. We sat down and looked over 200 pages of resolutions, and we couldn't find anything that had anything to do with improving students' educational outcomes. But even if you didn't read the resolutions, if you just watch the convention, a lot of people didn't want to watch it because no one wants to hear, let's be real, Randi Weingarten screeching at the top of her lungs, trying to be like some sort of cult leader.
Right.
It sounded more like a political rally than anything else. If you did a Control F and just searched on her speech, it was written out. She mentioned Trump like 18 times. She mentioned power 18 times. She said the words fascist and oligarch about 6 times collectively. It had nothing to do with improving student outcomes. But in one of their resolutions, Lindsey, they considered cutting the military budget
Right.
by not by 5%, but 50%, cutting our military spending in half. They don't just want to destroy our education system. Apparently, they want to destroy national defense as well. But they also called to abolish ICE. They passed that resolution. And they also wanted to, they passed resolutions to approve gender-affirming care, which for listeners, for all ages, not just 18 and up, but all stages of life was the direct quote from their resolutions. And that includes sex change surgeries for children. That includes puberty blockers for children. And that includes hormone therapies for small children. And to add insult to injury, they passed a separate resolution among all their delegates to keep secrets from parents. They called it, they don't want to have forced outing, but at the end of the day, they're trying to socially transition children behind their parents' back, even though we just had a Supreme Court victory out of California, which said, California, you are no longer permitted to keep these secrets from parents. So what did the teachers union do in their infinite wisdom? Instead of listening to this pillar of democracy that they're always ranting about. They want to thwart democracy, not listen to the Supreme Court, and try to tell teachers that they should do what they want anyway and go behind parents' rights. That's absolutely ridiculous. They also called for housing set-asides for union members. So that would increase housing prices for everybody else if you're limiting the supply of housing and giving certain carve-outs and lower interest rates for union members. They also they had just so many crazy resolutions that you just can't make this stuff up, really. And it's no wonder, Lindsey, that we only have 20% of kids in America who are proficient in math, despite us spending on average nationally about $21,000 a kid. It's become more of a jobs program for administrators than an education initiative for children. And when you have Randy Weingarten streaking on stage and them just passing these resolutions that really have nothing to do with that, it doesn't even really help the members. One example is that you can look at their spending over time. It goes towards administrative bloat. It doesn't go into the classroom. It doesn't go towards the teachers. But they also passed two separate resolutions, Lindsey, that had to do with pension funds. And so when I first looked at these, I was like, okay, maybe they're trying to protect the pension funds. I get it. They're fighting for their members. They want to increase the value of their pensions. But when you read past the headlines and you look into the fine print, both of these resolutions used a political lens towards looking at different investments. So they were literally telling their pension, what do you call it? Their pension managers, basically, to not invest in companies which disagree with collective bargaining or which try to privatize public sector jobs. In other words, companies which are trying to maximize their profits by lowering their costs, which would improve pensions for teachers. The unions are passing these resolutions saying, well, you shouldn't invest in those companies which will maximize our returns. That is a breach of fiduciary duty if I've ever heard one, because their only kind of decision-making calculus when it comes to managing teachers' retirement funds should be, well, is this going to improve my long-term retirement funding? Is this going to help me when I retire? But instead, they're using a political lens to determine whether they should invest in certain companies or not. One more example is they passed a separate one that said we shouldn't invest in companies that have anything to do with Apollo Global Wealth Management, and the reasoning for this, you might not even know what Apollo is. I didn't know what Apollo was before either. But the reasoning that they put forth was, well, their CEO was aligned with Trump's higher education plans to return merit to higher education, which I would think is a good thing and really just has nothing to do with maximizing shareholder value. And, that's just one more example of how, like, even the things that you thought that they passed were kind of benign, that really weren't really eye-popping at first. You dig in a little deeper. One last example, because I can't forget this one, is one that I was like, oh my goodness, I got to give them credit for this one, was to return to phonics-based instruction, to return to early literacy instruction.
Mississippi
and
Miracle.
you read that, Mississippi Miracle, you read the title, and it's like,
sounds great.
Oh my goodness, I have to give Randy Weingarten credit for once. I mean, this is new. You read the fine print. What does it call for? Universal pre-K funded by the taxpayer. So adding on an additional year to a broken 13-year system, that's not going to do anything to fix
Get them
it.
younger. Brainwash them younger.
And they also say, look, oh yeah, in theory, we want to support improving reading, but we don't want any standardized testing. You can't check our work, because a straight quote was basically they called standardized testing, rooted in racism and disinvestment. And, they threw all the buzzwords there. So they want to put out there and project that they're for educational attainment, but you got to give us a ton more money. You got to give us your kids a year earlier and give us money for that as well. And, oh, by the way, you can't check our work. You can't have any testing to determine whether we actually improved anything. So it's all just smoke and mirrors. It's them just pretending that they're for one thing to get something else. What is that something else? More money, less accountability. They said in the resolution they will oppose any form of punitive accountability measures. In other words, you can't hold us accountable for these results. You can't check our work. It's just so crazy. So the one thing that I thought, okay, maybe there's some saving grace here. No,
Yeah.
it was also a bunch of garbage as well.
Read the fine print and follow the money, and you find it every single time. We got to take a break, but Corey, I want you to stay with us because when we get back, I want to talk about these resolutions that did pass. What does that mean in states like Mississippi that may have already passed legislation dealing with that topic or that issue? Which one trumps the other? What does that mean for those states? So y'all stay with us because this is so important, especially if you're a parent. I know I have just a knot in my stomach and anxiety through the roof because I'm so worried about my kids going back into school next week. And I have no other option because there is no education freedom or school choice measures here in Mississippi. And that's a whole nother topic in and of itself that I know we care deeply about, Corey. But y'all stay with us. This is a conversation you need to hear. And we will be right back here, 103.9 WYAB, The Lindsey Beckham Show.
Didn't even get into the May Day resolution. Here we go. That's going to be the first one I bring up when we get back.
103.9 WYAB.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
As Christians, it's our calling to be faithful to Christ and obedient to the Great Commission. Our heart's desire and prayer to God is that through our efforts, many would receive and rest upon Christ alone as he is offered to them in the gospel. I'm David Strange, Senior Minister at First Presbyterian Church of Jackson, inviting you and your family to join us as we strive to fulfill that mission. We're located on North State Street in Jackson. Times of our services can be found at fpcjackson.org. You can also hear the good news about Jesus Christ each Sunday mornings at 9:30 on 103.9 WYAB.
Remember when Saturday meant tackling 3 projects before lunch? Now you need a nap after buying the lumber. It doesn't happen all at once. Energy slips away a little at a time. Focus does too. The team at Live Better Men's Health and Wellness helps men get answers to low testosterone, fatigue, weight gain, and more. Because getting older is mandatory. Feeling old is optional. Learn more at livebettermen.com. That's livebettermen.com.
This is Jack Hoffman. For nearly 31 years, Tico's Steakhouse has been a staple of fine dining in Jackson, Mississippi. Dad has long since desired for me to come work alongside him. And now that I'm here, I would like to invite you to come experience our family tradition of our hospitality, sizzling steaks, and healthy poured beverages. Our dining rooms are open and we are taking reservations. Our private rooms are also available along with takeout. Call today or stop in and experience Tico's in the second generation.
Tico's Steakhouse, East County Line Road in Ridgeland, 601-956-1030.
Hi, this is Mary Beth Hardy, owner of Flora Pharmacy. Flora Pharmacy is proud to be locally owned and operated. We believe in the power of community and personalized care. At Flora Pharmacy, we treat you like family. And for your convenience, we offer curbside service and prescription home delivery. Just pull up and we'll bring your prescriptions right to you. Can't make it to our store? Flora Pharmacy will drive it to your doorstep. Come see the best pharmacy in town today at Flora Pharmacy, where care meets convenience. Highway 49 in Flora.
Got a car, truck, or SUV you are trying to sell? Well, we want to buy. Hi, I'm Casey Ellis, owner of Ellis Autoplex in Brandon. Right now, we're paying top dollar for clean vehicles, and you don't have to buy anything from us. We'll appraise your vehicle, make you a strong offer, and you can walk away with a check the same day. No marketplace maniacs or Craigslist crazies here. Our checks are real. If you've been thinking about selling, well, now's the time. Ellis Autoplex in Brandon is home of Little Truck City. Follow us on Facebook or shop online. EllisAutoplex.com.
From Jacksontown to the radio, this is the Lindsey Beckham Show.
Welcome back into the Lindsey Beckham Show. We're joined with special guest Corey DeAngelis today. We're talking about teachers' unions and these resolutions that they presented and tried to pass. Some they did pass. There's the two biggest unions have had their annual conferences over the last few weeks, including Randy Weingarten jumping and stomping around on stage last week in DC. So, Corey, when they do pass resolutions like the ones we've been talking about, gender affirming care for all ages, and when we didn't talk about is they want to use our children as political pawns, pulling them out of school, taking them to rallies, having them become activists, and filling them with the information so that they can do the dirty work, our kids, our children. And when they are able to get resolutions passed, such as these, what happens in states where there's already legislation in place that the state has already put into place or has already passed?
Yeah, I talked with this a little bit about it with Marissa on the PragerU podcast too. Is that, look, I live in Texas, and she had brought up an example of the curriculum from their May Day curriculum that was pushed by the unions in California, and I had separately brought to the table a Chicago Teachers Union May Day curriculum as well, and they were off the wall crazy as you'd expect. It had a book for preschoolers where the boy thought he was a girl. It was called Julian is a Mermaid. And they were pushing that onto the kids during these, May Day events. And, I had pointed out that my mom just retired from the public school system after about 30 years. And she was telling me a couple of years ago, this didn't start even this year, this is several years back. And she was helping one of the special needs students in the high school. And they had to read a book during the school year. Thankfully, they had them read something, but it's actually worse than nothing, actually, because it was propaganda. And it was a book that had to do with Border Patrol. And they were but it was totally in a negative light, like trying to scare the crap out of the kids and saying that Border Patrol agents were evil people, that they were raping people and doing all these crazy things. Like, it was just insane, the stuff in that book. And I'm always a skeptic, right? I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I said, well, were there other choices of books, Mom? What was there like a pro-conservative choice too? I think they shouldn't go left or right, but I was trying to find a way that maybe I was trying to see how they could kind of defend this. There was another book, but it was about policing, but it was, police is bad, right? And so this is happening in red states and blue states. And there's been groups like Accuracy in Media where they've gone undercover in states like Tennessee, Texas, Iowa, Idaho, all the red states basically, where they've banned critical race theory. And they get the public school administrators to admit on camera, they don't know they're being recorded. Oh, we still do that. We just call it social emotional. It's moving the goalposts. They changed the label. Oh yeah, Trump banned DEI. Oh, well, we'll just call it inclusion, but we'll take out the other letters and we'll just we'll just change the name of our centers. The higher education institutions, the colleges are doing this already, and they say this all the time. I just got to point out a couple more things that passed. Just going to rapid fire real quick.
Yeah.
They passed Medicare for all, government control healthcare, the teachers unions. It's like, stay in your lane. Why does this have anything to do with government control healthcare? They want government controlled daycares as well, staffed by union employees. So you can see them trying to get you cradle to grave. They want the kids not just during K through 12. They want them before that, after school, and they want to increase their staffing and increase their political power that way as well. They call to kill President Trump's school choice program that Mississippi opted into this year. Tate Reeves opted into the federal tax credit scholarship program. They want to get rid of that. They don't want any competition. And they also call for a tech tax. They had all this stuff against AI, and they wanted to tax AI, regulate the crap out of it. They also announced separately Claude for Teachers, which is under the Anthropic umbrella. But Anthropic is partnering with the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten's union. And if you look at the Washington Post analysis of all places, which is a lefty organization, if anything, it should be biased towards the left. Well, what they found is Claude, Anthropic, 45% of the time, the responses only give you left-leaning responses. How much percent of the time do they only give you right-leaning responses? Well, that analysis found it was a big fat 0%.
So
They
Claude
never
would
give you
be like Grok, like Claude would
kind
be
of like a Grok. I
okay.
only use Grok. I don't really know much about Claude, but according to the Washington Post analysis, Grok is actually the most balanced left and right. Claude was far left, no right-leaning only responses. And they also called to make DC a state. They couldn't pack the court, so I guess they want to pack the Senate with 2 more senators. They want 52 senators in America, not just 50. And the founders were clear on Washington, D.C. They didn't want it to be a state. It's a federal district. If it was within a state's boundaries, that would cause some obvious conflicts of interests. Just imagine if Washington, D.C. was located in California and all the problems that would cause. And they also passed a resolution to mobilize for the 2026 elections. If it wasn't clear from all the ranting and raving by Randy, they also had Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leader in Congress, in the House, speak. And he said, we need your help to win back the House. And all the teachers and the delegates there cheered in support. They had a Democrat governor from Georgia, Raphael Warnock, also call for the same thing. We need Democrats in charge. We need to win in November. And so it was a political rally. And I will just say that you can't just point the finger at California and New York and say, this doesn't happen here. It all bleeds down into the classrooms through their affiliates. And voila, Mississippi has the Association of Educators, which is under the NEA umbrella. And they passed a bunch of the resolutions that were just as wild as Randy Weingarten's.
I don't know what happened to reading, writing, and arithmetic. It seems like that's just been thrown out the window when it comes to what these teachers unions are pushing. And, another thing that I saw Randy Weingarten promoting is we want to keep the Save America Act from going through.
Yeah. I mean,
they right about that one, Corey. There's
so many, Lindsay. This was one that Marissa brought up at PragerU when I got to the studio. I said, no way, they didn't pass that one because I missed it at first.
Yeah.
And so, because if you look at the title, it's protecting the right to vote. And you're like, okay, well, that sounds good, right?
Get on board with that.
You read it. It's against, literally, it says that we are against the Save America Act. And it's like, okay, you weren't even you said the quiet part out loud. You're not even trying to hide it. I mean, I guess they didn't put that in the title, but in the actual resolution, they're going against, they want illegals to be able to vote. They don't want you to have to prove with identification that you're here legally to be able to vote in our elections. I mean, it's just absolutely wild. And you had the teachers union vote. Look, they didn't vote to improve academic standards, but they did vote to keep illegals voting in our elections. I mean, it's just no election integrity. And they have one goal in mind. They want more Democrats. They think that the illegals are voting more so for the Democrats. So they want that to happen. So they passed a resolution to do it. They're mobilizing and spending tons of money to try to flip Congress in November. And they were even considering removing Trump from office somehow, which sounded like an insurrection. They actually tabled that one. But it's just, I mean, I'm glad you brought that one up, because with their May Day resolution, for listeners, May Day is a communist holiday. Ask Claude even, it'll admit. Ask Gemini on Google, left-leaning AIs. It will admit that communist regimes promoted May Day, which started in Chicago, actually, in the late 1800s as a result of something called the Haymarket Affair. There was workers who went on strike. They were protesting in the streets. Someone threw a bomb. A lot of people died. There was violence. And communist regimes have promoted this, May Day as a holiday. And it's become such a problem that even in the late 1800s, America distanced itself from it from the get-go and said, we're going to have Labor Day instead. We're not doing May Day. But what did the teachers union pass? They passed a day for political propaganda, not for Labor Day. They chose May Day, May 1st. And what Chicago did this year, they used as a blueprint. They used half the day for political indoctrination for the kids. Don't take my word for it. Look at their resolution they just passed at the AFT convention. It calls to use students for marches and rallies and, quote, political education as well. They want to use our children as political pawns. They did it in Chicago. They brought those kids after their indoctrination, after they got them all jazzed up. They took them in school district taxpayer-funded school buses to the Capitol to go lobby. I found the CTU curriculum. They basically called President Trump a fascist, said anything good. They didn't say anything good about Republicans. They compared policing and prisons to slavery, and they had an exit pass on one of the slides that the kids all had to fill out in order to get out. It was an exit slip. In order to get out of the classroom, you were held hostage. You had to write something that you were going to commit to doing after all this political propaganda. So basically, I'm going to commit to being a social justice warrior. That's how you get out of class. They held children in classrooms, wouldn't let them leave without this brainwashing propaganda slip to get out. I mean, so they started it in Chicago. They passed a resolution to do this everywhere else. It's just,
it's wild. It's
mind-boggling.
It's
And most people don't like, and I look into this all the time. You look into this all the time, and it was even surprising to us. So parents need to wake up and watch out what's going on with their kids, because, you know, at the end of the day, these are your kids. I'm going to homeschool my kids. I have a 2-year-old and we have a baby boy coming in October. And I'd say we're already homeschooling the 2-year-old. I mean, she learned how to walk. She's learned how to talk and do all that. That's homeschooling, I guess. But with the way the schools are functioning right now, not just in California, but in Texas and in red states too, you can't trust your kids with, you know, Vodi Bakum said it best. We cannot continue to send our children to Caesar for their education and be surprised when they come home as Romans.
Exactly. 1,000,000%. Corey, if there are teachers out there who are concerned about this, what's happening, a lot of them I know here are afraid to speak out because they are penalized. They get called into the the principal's office themselves or to the district office to get a slap on the hand. What can they do? Is there an organization? And I know you were at a conference last week. Tell us about that, how they can get involved and fight back against this mess.
I was just at the Teacher Freedom Summit last week in Dallas, Texas, and there were hundreds of teachers in the audience. They just reported last week that they have over 16,000 teachers who have left their government unions, including the Mississippi Association of Educators. That's one of the government unions, and join the Teacher Freedom Alliance instead. So you can go to optouttoday.com. You click on your state, whether you're in California, Mississippi, it gives you instructions for how to opt out, do it the right legal way. And to keep that money in your paycheck every week, you no longer have to give it to these money laundering operations for Democrat politicians. You might not even known that your money was going to that funneled up to the NEA and then ultimately given to Democrat people that you're voting against. So if you're a conservative
basically every
teacher's
part
paying
of their
into this.
salary is going towards Democrat candidates.
Why do you want to fund Randy and Becky making $500,000 a year each? Why do you want to fund former President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris why would you want to send your money there if you're a conservative? And so you don't want to be working against everything you're trying to do. Teachers have an option. They are essential in this fight to holding the unions accountable because they're currently in an abusive relationship. Look, the unions tell them that they're helping them, but they're really not. Have your teacher salaries gone up over time? No, they haven't. Spending's gone up, but it doesn't go to the teachers. It doesn't go in the classroom. It goes towards their political pet projects. It goes towards hiring more people, which means a larger voting block, which helps Randy Weingarten, but doesn't help your everyday teacher. They fight against merit pay. So the best teachers are like getting screwed by the system too. So they go to optouttoday.com. They join the Teacher Freedom Alliance instead, and they cover your liability insurance. If you're afraid of getting sued by a parent or a kid or whoever else, well, you get up to $2 million in liability insurance. They cover it. Donors are covering the cost for free for you. And it's twice the amount of insurance that Randy Weingarten's union gives you. It's up to $2 million as opposed to up to $1 million, and you're not paying a single cent for that. So why in the world would you continue giving your money to Democrats when they're covering your back? You got a support group with the Teacher Freedom Alliance. They give you professional development as well. And the insurance is in your name personally, not the union's name, because the Democrat unions, they could choose not to support you. They can say, oh, we're not going to take up this case if you get sued, if you're a conservative. But if it's in your name, then you're protected. So this is obvious. We need school choice. That's clear, but we need teacher choice too. And the Teacher Freedom Alliance is the way to do that. You got to starve the beast and fight back.
Absolutely. That sounds like a no-brainer to me. So teachers, y'all go sign up for that. Corey, I know you're busy. Do you have time to hang for one more segment with us?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, y'all stay with us. We're going to be right back. We are talking about teachers unions and the agenda that they're pushing. Parents, you need to know about it. Too many of us have been quiet for too long and didn't know what was going on, but you can't say that you don't know now. So y'all stay with us. We'll be right back here. 103.9 WYAB. On WYAB.
Keep it tuned here to 103.9 WYAB.
When it comes to protecting all the things that matter in your world, generations of folks in central Mississippi have trusted Allstate agent Mark Dwyron. Mark knows the right coverage with the right price, helps you feel secure and protected. For decades, Mark's been a trusted agent protecting you against mayhem that is unpredictable. And he's always just a moment away when you need him. Mark Dwyron. For auto, home, life, and more, you're in good hands with Allstate. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit AmericansForProsperity.org. Be a part of positive change at AmericansForProsperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. In Minnesota, Vance Belter has been sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years in prison for killing Democratic state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband last year at their home. He also targeted other lawmakers that same day. ABC's Peter Haralambou says Belter pleaded guilty last month, taking the death penalty off the table.
He admitted to carrying out what prosecutors called a night of terror that shook Minnesota to its core when he disguised himself as a member of law enforcement, assassinated a top Democrat in the Minnesota House and her husband, and severely injured a state senator and his wife.
The U.S. has carried out nearly 2 weeks of airstrikes against Iran, and Iran is widening the conflict in the region. Maritime traffic stalled or blocked in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran-backed Houthi rebels targeting ships in the Red Sea. In West Virginia, officials say 2 people are unaccounted for following severe flooding this week. Rescues continue in that area. This is ABC News.
Want insider tips on foundation repair, maintenance, and how to protect your biggest investment? Todd Sandridge, owner of Superior Foundation Services, will be dropping in this month for quick interviews with your favorite local hosts. Whether you're dealing with cracks, settling, or just want peace of mind, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Superior Foundation Services, helping you stay on solid ground. Find them online at superior.ms. That's superior.ms.
It's all systems go this month at Mazda of Jackson. With rates as low as 0% with approved credit, come test drive the all-new, fully redesigned 2026 Mazda CX-5. More room for you and your cargo makes the third-generation CX-5 the best yet. Mazda's best-selling SUV also comes with 1-year maintenance included on your new vehicle purchase. And Mazda of Jackson still specializes in certified pre-owned vehicles with hassle-free trade-in options available. Shop online at MazdaofJackson.com or visit Mazda of Jackson, I-55 Frontage Road.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to ring partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Ream and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
Mississippi, the 39th annual Mississippi Wildlife Extravaganza hits the Clyde Muse Center in Pearl, July 24th through the 26th. Kids 12 and under get in free all weekend, and we're throwing back 2016 pricing. That means just $10 for the adults. Sea Turtle Man, Diamond Jim Board Wine, Mountain Man from Duck Dynasty, and more live. There'll be gator shows, big buck contests, giveaways, bounce houses, and family fun all weekend long. Check us out online, msganza.com.
Welcome back into the Lindsey Beckham Show, live here in the WYAB studios, joined by our special guest, Corey DeAngelis. Now, Corey, you are also known as the school choice evangelist. And unfortunately, we in Mississippi at the state level have not passed school choice measures. It will get done. It will get done. It might not be this year. It might not be in 27, but I'm holding out for 28. I'm holding out for 28. I think we'll see it happen then. But Trump has done something within the big, beautiful bill that Mississippi has opted into. Tell us about that and how parents can take advantage of that.
Yeah, we need a new Senate in Mississippi. It's no surprise or it's not news to people that the House passed the universal school choice bill this past year. It was too close of a vote there, but didn't even get a vote or a hearing in the Senate. They killed it after 90 seconds in the Senate Education Committee. And meanwhile, Senate leadership, Delbert Hosemann, he sent his own kid to private school. So it's this school choice for me, but not for the hypocrisy, protecting themselves at the expense of kids. And it's just absolute lunacy. When you have 18 other red states that have passed universal school choice, this was one of President Trump's main priorities. The biggest head scratcher in the nation right now is, why doesn't Mississippi have universal school choice? I looked, and there was another kind of tangential bill that passed both chambers this past year in Mississippi. It was a bill that kind of held public sector unions, teachers unions accountable. And it barely passed the Senate by like one vote. So that just goes to show you, like, that's an easier lift than school choice. And if they barely passed even that in the Senate, it's just absolutely bonkers that, that you have a very liberal Senate in Mississippi. But thankfully, with the big, beautiful bill, there's this nationwide tax credit scholarship program. 31 states have already opted in, including 2 Democrat states. Colorado's Governor Jared Polis opted in, and the governor from New York, Kathy Hochul, said that she's going to opt in as well. So 31, I think it'll get to 50 at some point because it's a tax credit. It's private donations. You can get up to $1,700 dollar-for-dollar tax credit to donate to a scholarship granting organization. For a household, you can donate up to $3,400. And then people can go to those scholarship granting organizations to get the funding to go to private schools. So it doesn't touch a single penny of local public school funding. Yet the teachers unions are still kicking and screaming, and sent a letter to all the Democrat governors trying to beg them not to opt in because they see this momentum. It's really just a form of Trump derangement syndrome at this point, because it doesn't touch any local public school funding. But governors are the people who make that decision. They have the control and power to do that. It doesn't have to go through the House or Senate in each state. So who knows if Mississippi would have opted in if Delbert Hosemann had a say in it in the Senate. I'm sure the House would have passed it anyway. But it's a good step in the right direction. At the end of the day, though, you still need state level education policy to happen. I'd say, look, we shouldn't have a Department of Education to begin with. I'm glad that the Trump administration is projected to have cut 85% of all of the staff at that Department of Education at the federal level by December 2026. So they've already fired thousands of people, and more people are on the way out as well. That's an unconstitutional department. It's a waste of time and money. It was a political payoff by Jimmy Carter to the teachers union. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if we're going to have it at some form or the other, this new program by Trump isn't run or regulated by the Department of Education. So it's a separate entity. It's a tax credit. And what's really interesting about it is I think every state's going to opt in at some point, because anybody can donate regardless of whether your governor opts in, and you can still get that tax benefit. If you donate the $1,700, you're going to get that $1,700 back on your taxes the next April. You can only get scholarships if your governor opts in. So what does that mean? Well, if Jared Polis of Colorado had Trump derangement syndrome even worse than he already does, and he didn't opt into this, he would be, and he admitted this in an interview, a couple of them already. He called it a no-brainer decision. If he didn't opt in, that money would flow out of state. So people would donate from Colorado, and they would end up to go to scholarships for kids in Texas and Florida, because he would be basically shooting himself in the foot if he did that. So I think every state, it might take a few years for them to opt in, but you got 31 already, more are going to come this year as well. And
seems like common sense to me.
It's common sense. And the point I was trying to bring up is it's, you know, it's $1,700. It's unclear how many people are going to do this donation, even if like you're going to get the same money back. Like there's no reason not to, unless you think that the government's more efficient with spending your money, which they're not, than a scholarship granting organization. So I think we're going to see a lot of uptake, but at the end of the day, federal education funding is only about 10% of total education spending. The vast majority, 90 or so percent, is at the state and local level. So you still need Mississippi legislature to pass a school choice program to get real meaningful school choice. Like in Texas, where I live, we have a state level scholarship that's $10,000 a kid, and we also opted into Trump's program. What parents could do is take that $10,000, stack it with the, it's a $1,700 donation, but the organization that does the scholarships, they could decide we're going to make them, stack a couple of those, make them a $5,000 scholarship per student. And you could take it and add it to the 10 and make it a $15,000 scholarship and be able to access more forms of private education. Maybe your school has a $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 tuition. You'd be more likely to afford it with the 15 than the 10.
Right.
And so it doesn't, the federal opt-in doesn't eliminate the need or replace the need for having state level action as well. You can have one or the other, but it's best to have both.
And Corey, one thing you do, if y'all are not following Corey on social media, go follow him, because one thing that you have been doing is following these state races down to the local elections, the state level. And what we are seeing is the people who are in favor of school choice are being elected over the ones who have blocked it.
That's right. Yeah, I just reported yesterday that in Arizona's elections, they had a primary for Attorney General Warren Peterson, the head of their Senate right now, the Senate leader, or Senate president. He spanked the other guy, Rodney Glassman, in the Republican primary. Rodney Glassman in previous years bragged on video about how he got endorsed by the Arizona Education Association, which is their state affiliate of the National Education Association. And I think he was a Democrat in the past as well, but still, the school choice supporter Warren Peterson won. Same thing with their Secretary of State race. The person who lost by like 20 points, and she was calling to regulate their school choice program, which is very popular there. What a bad idea. It was a bold strategy. Cotton didn't work out for her. Alexander was the guy who won the Secretary of State race. So it's a political winner, but more importantly, it's the right thing to do. Right. And politicians need to stop listening to the government school unions, and they need to start listening to the kids union, the parents, because parents care about their kids more than anybody else. And they outnumber the employees in the system. So get on the train or get rolled over.
Absolutely. Corey, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to come on and talk about what's happening within the teachers unions and the agenda that they are pushing. And thank you for all that you do out there, boots on ground on the front line. I know it's not easy, but you are out there fighting for all children across the country. I cannot thank you enough. And we will definitely have you back, and you can keep us updated on what's happening. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you too, Lindsay. Thanks for having me, and hope to see you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take our last break. Y'all stay with us. We'll be right back here to wrap things up for the day here on The Lindsey Beckham Show. Up for the day here on The Lindsey Beckham Show.
1039 WYAB.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Hot weather requires us to run the AC nonstop. Pure Air Consultants can inspect your unit today to ensure your AC is operating at peak performance. Pure Air Consultants is your go-to Rheem partner that can get the job done and have you resting in comfort in no time. Locally owned and operated, they have proudly served our community for over 22 years. Contact Pure Air Consultants today at mypureairconsultants.com. Rheem and Pure Air Consultants to the rescue.
When it comes to protecting all the things that matter in your world, generations of folks in central Mississippi have trusted Allstate agent Mark Dwyron. Mark knows the right coverage with the right price, helps you feel secure and protected. For decades, Mark's been a trusted agent protecting you against mayhem that is unpredictable. And he's always just a moment away when you need him. Mark Dwyron. For auto, home, life, and more, you're in good hands with Allstate. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
Hey, Flora, the farm store in Flora. Fresh from the farm right here. The farm store in Flora. Organic, local, clear. Locally sourced meats and vegetables too. Fresh produce every day, picked just for you. The farm store in Flora. Fresh from the farm right here. The farm store in Flora. Come see what's fresh today.
When leaks, clogs, or cold showers slow you down, call on Anglin Plumbing, the plumbing experts who get the job done right the first time. Leaky faucet, sink, or toilet? Need a water heater installed? Call on Anglin Plumbing. You can always trust Anglin's reliable and hardworking technicians. Don't let plumbing headaches ruin your day. Call on Anglin Plumbing Service to get it fixed. And you can be a part of the team. Anglin Plumbing is now hiring. Learn more about Anglin Plumbing at anglinplumbing.com.
Grill lovers already know about Grills of Mississippi, and so should you. Grills of Mississippi carries premium Weber grills, Yoder smokers, and outdoor kitchen accessories to take your backyard cooking to the next level. Whether you're a weekend griller or a serious pitmaster, Grills of Mississippi has the brands, the knowledge, and the service to help you do it right. Turn your backyard into the ultimate gathering spot. Visit grillsofms.com today. Grills of Mississippi, where great cooking starts.
At Bank of Yazoo, we believe that common sense makes for better banking. That's why we've taken our array of checking accounts and simplified them for you, boiling down features and benefits to create our New You, Achieve You, Benefit You, and Protect You checking accounts. Ready to discover how simple is better? Talk with us today. Bank of Yazoo, Bank of You. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Antique Mall of the South has 14,000 square feet of pristine, clean floor space. Home to beautiful, timeless antique treasures. Antique Mall of the South is open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. Check them out online at antiquemallofthesouth.com or go to the Antique Mall of the South Facebook page. You can also read the dozens of 5-star reviews online. Come see for yourself at Antique Mall of the South in Ridgeland. Now open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. That's Antique Mall of the South, Highway 51 in Ridgeland.
From Jacksontown to the radio, this is the Lindsey Beckham Show.
Welcome back in for the last minute or so of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Again, I want to thank Corey DeAngelis. I know he is a very busy man, so I very much appreciate him taking the time to come on the show today and talk to us about this agenda that is being pushed by our teachers' unions across the country. Yes, even here, right here in the South, in the Bible Belt, in the conservative state of Mississippi. I did want to read our Madison Minute, our quote of the day that comes from our Live in Liberty Daily Journal, July 23rd, from James Madison. This is Federalist 51 from 1788. In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this: you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself. And it certainly does not seem as though we are controlling this narrative, this agenda that our teachers' unions are shoving down the throats of every state in the country. Someone in the chat asked why I deleted their comment. I haven't been in the chat today, and I haven't deleted a single comment. I never do. I may not agree with you, but I'll always fight for your right to say what you do believe. And I definitely will always be voicing my opinions over here at the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we believe in protecting children, empowering parents, and standing for truth always. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.